Hello, everyone, and welcome again to our summer virtual series. My name is Tara Stevenson. I serve as the Vice President of Student Affairs here at Flagler College. We are very excited that you're here joining us tonight for a hot topic about living on campus and what that means for your student, you as the student, your student's roommate, all of the above. But I am going to let our panelists introduce themselves, then go over a little bit of housekeeping things for tonight, and then we will just dive right in. So, Rachel, you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Clark, and I am the Assistant Dean of Community Living and Standards. So I oversee the Residence Life program with the help of my other colleagues here on the call. And then I also do a little bit of work in student conduct, which we will not talk about tonight.
No.
And Anlin, I'll pass it to you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amlyn Harvey, and I am the Director of Residence Life. And I work to provide leadership over the residence halls as well as leadership over any residential initiatives in our communities, as well as the general oversight of the RAs with Julia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Corey, and I currently serve as the Assistant Director of Residence Life. So I directly supervise all of the RAs and kind of get them up and going at the start of the year, which is a kind of included in this subject today about moving in and kind of what the start of the semester is going to look like for you and your students. But yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. So before we get into some of the topics that we wanted to cover tonight, we just want to remind everybody about our Q&A function. And so as you have questions for our panelists tonight, we will do our very best to try to get through those as quickly as possible. Would love to see them in the Q&A, but we also understand that there might be some chat things there, but I will try to keep an eye on the chat. And then tonight, our focus is really going to be on what living on campus is going to be like. We know that move in that occurs in August is a whole nother beast and lots of fun logistics to go over with that one. And so we will plug this again later, but mark your calendars for July 27th, where we will take some time that night to talk solely about what the move in day will look like. So tonight, we get to focus really on just what that full residential life experience is going to be like. So let's go ahead and dive in. Rachel, why don't you take us through maybe a little bit about what our families can expect that their student has already done, or if we have any students joining us tonight, maybe what they have completed or can work on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Your student has probably already received an email about selecting housing. We do allow students, first year students, transfer students, to actually go in and select their own room, their own building, their own roommate, all of that. The only time we ever place somebody is if they haven't done it by our deadline, which is July 1st. I'll actually screen share here as well to kind of give you the student view of things. My screen is slightly different than what your student might be seeing or what you might be seeing as the student. But this is eRes Life. Your student can access it at flagler.ereslife.com. They'll log in there using their Flagler email and password, and they're able to complete our housing application. It would be right here under the recommended actions if they haven't done so already. On the left-hand side, they're also able to create their roommate profile. This enables other students to search for them and get connected with possible roommates. They can share as little or as much as they would like in this, including social media and all kinds of things about themselves. So they'll complete this. It will also allow them to search for roommates, send roommate kind of roommate requests to get connected with people that way. After they have done all of these steps, they are able to select their own room. They'll get emailed if they haven't done so already with a housing lottery time, and that enables them to log in and self-select their own room and building. Most of the students have done this step already. I think we're just waiting on maybe 40 or so students. So if you haven't accomplished this yet and need help with it, definitely send us an email. We're happy to help you or your student get into their room assignment for the fall. But there are all kinds of tips and resources and kind of a checklist right here on the home dashboard for your student.
Wonderful. And so if students are figuring out roommates or unsure about roommates, I know we had a student last week that connected with our chatbot a little bit about how like what's the best process for that. So any tips or tricks that you may be able to share?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple different ways. Some students are finding roommates through this roommate, the eRes Life, and clicking that roommate profile and searching for roommates that way. Other students are using the Flagler College Class of 2030 Instagram page to find roommates and connect with others on there. And then we do see some students who just leave it up to random. It is more important to them to select a specific building or select a specific floor. And then they just meet with somebody either at orientation this summer or they meet them on move-in day. That's not uncommon either. So it really kind of depends on what either you or your student want to prioritize. Is it building? Is it floor? Is it wanting to have that roommate connection right away? But it's not uncommon for students to still be looking for roommates at this point or not feel like they maybe haven't found the right fit. We will work with them. They'll meet students at orientation this summer. And we're always open to room changes and things like that. And we want students to have a great experience. But I would say those are the three big ways, either the 2030 Instagram page by utilizing the roommate search feature or just leaving it up to random. For students who don't select a room by July 1st, we will place them. And we do always look at what they have shared in their roommate preferences and kind of a little bit about themselves and their application and try to match them up with somebody we think might be a good fit for them as well.
So gentle reminder here that students need to fill out that application,
Yes.
kind of let them answer some of those questions, not what we think they want. But Rachel, you had a great point that you talked about there is one of my most favorite things is when students meet others through our new student orientation programs and decide, like this actually might be a really great roommate and they want to change after they've already selected something. And you touched a little bit on that. So if that is occurring and somebody does want to make a change, what's that process for the student to go through now?
Yeah. If both parties can email us requesting each other, that is most helpful. We will always look for ways that we can make it work. I will share that right now, Ponce is looking to be pretty full. Everyone loves Ponce, but sometimes things change. Students want to swap into another building with somebody else, and that creates flexibility over the summer or even into the beginning of the school year. So we do keep kind of that running list and keep our eyes open for possibilities and opportunities to move people together to get their preferred roommate. We can't guarantee it, but I'm always keeping my eyes on it every day to see who I can shuffle and if people are moving to different buildings because they've met somebody over there. Sometimes those create opportunities for students and we're able to slide somebody in and get a roommate match together. So have your student and their preferred roommate email us and we'll add them to our list and kind of look for an opportunity to make it happen.
And that's a great point. We definitely want to see that request come from both students to make sure that both are on board with a change or things like that. We're going to mention this now. We will mention it again. You kept talking about the email. What's the best email address for students to reach out to?
Yes, it is residencelife@flagler.edu. So RESIDENCE life@flagler.edu.
All right. So let's say that on move-in day, we have students that move in. They're here for a couple weeks and just realizing, what, this is just not meshing well. And I think I need a different space. And so after move-in, what does that process look like if students would like to request a change?
Sure. We do like to see students give it a shot for at least 2 weeks because it is a new situation for everybody. For many students, it's the first time they've ever lived and shared such a small space with somebody else. Many of them have always had their own room. So it's new to them. We'd like to see them give it a shot. After that, we do like that they work with the RA to do a roommate mediation, particularly if there's some type of conflict or source of frustration that can be resolved with maybe just a little bit of help or some guiding questions and things of that nature. But if the students just absolutely cannot work it out, they have reached a point and we've tried to work with them and come to some type of compromise, we do look for opportunities to move students to other spaces as long as we have availability.
Yeah, we really want to see our students, try to work through things, whether it is having more of those conversations or whether it is advocating for themselves on, you know what, midnight I think is a good time for us to turn the lights and, party music down. But, we also, I think that's why the roommate profile is so helpful because a morning person's going to be very different than a night owl, and either is great and wonderful, but it can create some tensions that we want them just to work through together. We also know that sometimes students will get into a space and realize that they thought it was going to be a little bit different. And so can you talk to us a little bit about like what the layouts of our different residence halls look like or what our students can expect from their spaces?
Sure, I will pull ERES Life back up. Your students, again, all have access to this, but over on, let me get to my right screen, it will open up here on their dashboard. And on the left-hand side here, if they select resources and then scroll to the bottom, they will see floor plans for each of our building here. Ponce East has odd numbers and Ponce West is even numbers. So depending on the room that your student or you have selected, those are the floor plans you're looking for. But if you select any of them here, it kind of pulls up the floor plans and your student can get an idea of general layout of their space. On some of the rooms, it may show a bed when in fact it's a double or something of that nature. But for the most part, your students can get a general idea of layout from these floor plans. In Lewis and Cedar, all of the rooms are the same. They're a standard room. And then in Ponce, due to the historical nature of it, every room is a little bit different. So I would encourage you to check out these floor plans as well, just to get a good idea of kind of what you should expect on move-in day.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we don't have dimensions in there, but these floor plans, especially with some of our unique halls, really allow for students to see kind of like the unique space that's there. And I always like to encourage our students to get to the space first and just see what it looks like, see what you and your roommates are thinking about. And then we will have target runs that we're going to help our students run to, or maybe get all this stuff here and then go down to some of the stores or local shops that once you get together and see kind of how you want to live, then you can add some of those things. So, speaking of shopping, Julia, why don't you take us through kind of what students should bring? What do we supply that they can expect already in their room, and maybe some resources?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, what's already provided in the room, right? In every single room, there will be a desk chair, a bed frame, so you don't have to worry about bringing any of those. And every student will, or for every two students, there will be like a micro fridge and a microwave provided. So we ask that those are not brought to campus because we already have them all ready and set to go for our incoming students. And then there is either a like dresser or wardrobe available as well as a closet. So it kind of depends on what hall you're in, but every student will have like a set of drawers, or two sets of drawers. And then either a closet or a wardrobe, depending on the hall that you're in. And on the I always like looking at the Ponce floor plans because you can see the little doors that open because some rooms have five closets, and that is just the way that Ponce was
Mr.
built.
Flagler built it.
Right. So there's that. And then a resource that I want to kind of give to everyone is on the flagler.edu website under student life and then housing, living on campus, the main living on campus page where it has the different halls laid out. I actually looked it up on YouTube, but it's already on the Flagler page where it says like watch a room tour. So we had some student leaders, some RAs in the different types of rooms in every building to kind of give you a walkthrough, show you what the room could look like. There are some examples of a room being decorated and then a room completely at its bare bones, able to be decorated and I mean all the things. So there's that. Um, And let's see. So that main page with all of the residence halls on it is really valuable resource for sure. Where it says even more about campus, where you talk about like different types of housing and student spaces and different things that we have to offer. So there's different things in different halls, but there are some things that are available to all students, which I think is really awesome. So, in the past few years, we opened the dock down at the Commons, in Aber that all students are able to go and they can get like a kayak or some other things. There's fishing, and there are some events that Campus Recreation does that is really awesome. Different yoga things at sunset. So that is super unique. As well as like some fire pits around campus and different places. We have the pool as well, which students love. There's a pool. Um, so there's that. And then, so I guess with that in mind, kind of what's provided, we can also talk about things that are prohibited. So things that we ask that students do not bring to campus. And most all of them are for either the student's safety or they already exist. So, like I said before, the micro fridges, microwaves, no candles or incense or things with hot open coils or heating elements. And then as kind of in that same vein, extension cords with no surge protector, like no on and off switch. And with those open like heating elements, that includes like hot plates and things like that. And then when it comes to like the different walls across campus, like LED strips is will never be like good for the paint or the walls. It never turns out well, I fear. As well as like command strips also are not the best to bring. Yeah, we see just wall damage whenever they come in, so we just ask that those are not brought to campus. Um,
So
but
typically a question that we
yes.
get a lot during this time, when you just talked about that, is what is the best thing for students to use to hang items on their walls?
Museum putty. Yeah, I would check museum putty. I think hopefully Walmart, Target sell it. If not, I believe definitely Home Depot, Lowe's do. But museum putty is the recommended sticky tack type material.
Mhm.
Okay. So everybody heard it here.
Yeah, no nails or like mounting TVs or anything crazy like that. We ask that you refrain from that for sure.
Yes. And then, Julia, you talked about the items that we provide for the student as a college. So the beds, desks, chairs, drawers, things like that. But it does come with a caveat that those items do need to remain in the room the whole time. So could you talk a
Yes.
little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when, especially like on move-in day, when all the roommates are together, all the parents are together, the typical thing that happens is you try to find the best way to utilize your space and try to find as much space as possible within the room. So, there are a few things that can be done that creates space and still keeps all of the furniture in the room because unfortunately we're just not able to remove furniture or like disassemble things and take it out. So what we have is what we need to keep in the room. So I have seen residents in the past if they know that they're not going to like study in their room for example and they want to put their desk under their bed. I've seen that work really well and that has like there's drawers in the desk so that is like a storage space for them. I've seen in some of the bigger, more like unique spaces in Ponce, I've seen residents like put all their desks at the center of the room. So they have
Mhm.
kind of like a Love Island vanity style esque energy in the room, which is really awesome to see whenever they're getting ready for the day or something like that. So that is really awesome. But yeah, what I really like about the different drawers that are provided is that typically they come in sets of two. So you can stack them or you can put them side by side under the bed. So that creates some space as well.
Yeah. The
And
thing I
that,
always like to remind is the desk chair needs to remain in there. And
yes,
so,
absolutely.
purposely selecting or not selecting an aesthetic desk chair so that
Yeah,
you don't have
right.
to worry about finding an alternate
Yes.
space
Yes, the
for it.
chairs are provided, I
Yes.
promise. And yeah, that's something that I really like to encourage with the RAs as well on move-in day as they're like walking around the halls and introducing themselves. They have been here for at least a year or 2 years and they have reconfigured their own spaces in their time, so they can definitely act as a resource for students as well, in like rearranging the room to get creative or create more space or things like that. But yes, furniture must stay in the room that it came in.
So, Anlin, why don't you take us through some packing and lists and things that our students and families can be doing during these next 2 months as they prepare for their arrival to campus?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite parts of move-in day is walking around all the halls and seeing how everyone decorates their room and decks it
Mhm.
out to their personality. And so we want you to feel like that space is yours and customize it. With the understanding that reach out to your roommate just so you're not duplicating things. Make sure you're not getting multiple shower curtains brought on move-in day. But we have a new move-in website, and I think Rachel might be able to screen share and pull it up. And we actually have a recommended packing list. And so we kind of break it down. There's a downloaded option here, but it's broken down by different areas of what you would need. So you're thinking about bedding and your toiletries and electronics and all those different things. We like to say less is more. We hope that all of the parents on this chat tonight. Join us for Friends and Family Weekend. And so if there's something that you absolutely need that you left behind, that's a good opportunity to find a time to meet up with your student and check in with them and bring some things from home. But also in the local area, there's a Walmart, there's a Target, we have outlets. And so once you get to the space and kind of see and envision what you would like for your space, how to decorate it, what to bring, you can also visit any of those places that we have around town to do that. So I highly recommend coordinating with roommates that you might have about who's bringing what. If you want to coordinate bedding or vibes and style and colors, I know that was super popular when I was in school. Um, so if you want to do any of that, definitely talk to your roommates and things to make sure that you're coordinating all of that. Also think about things that make it feel like home. So those little touches, what can you do to warm up a space? I've seen students bring in area rugs because the residence halls that do have either the tile floor or like the wood floors that really warms up a space. A lamp for your desk or a floor lamp really helps with overhead lighting. So start thinking about some of those things that might make it home for you. If you're a coffee drinker, reviewing our approved list and bringing a Keurig. So whatever you think is going to make that space yours and unique for you. When it comes to actually packing items and getting them in the cars, right? We highly recommend those packing bags. If you Google on Amazon or one of the shops, the heavy duty packing bags are kind of like a plastic material. That is really helpful. You can store so much stuff in that. And then we will have volunteers on move-in day. And so you will be able to pull up on move-in day, which I know we're going to go fully in depth later at a different webinar about what the move-in day experience. But please know that we'll have people there to assist with that. And part of that is also we're going to have a couple moving carts available, but we always encourage you all to buy some of those collapsible wagons or dollies just to help make that process smooth and bring things with you. Anything that you are bringing with you, we are asking that they get labeled so our volunteers are able to coordinate getting those straight to your room so you can worry about going up there and starting to unpack and making it feel like you're home. On our move-in website, we will also have luggage tags and moving tags for you to download and print. So if you've been on a cruise, it's kind of similar where you print them out and you fold it and then you attach it to the strap of a bag or a suitcase. That is really going to help with our volunteers and also help us get your items right to your room so it makes it easy peasy for everyone in that process.
And they're not required, but it's a great way to show some excitement, print them out and put them all over stuff, but at the end of the day, it is really helpful when you label the room number because then when we do have volunteers, like Anlin said, we make sure that that stuff gets exactly where it's supposed to go. Couple questions here that I did want to make sure that we talked about before moving on to that next topic. Can beds be lofted or can students bring in desk hutches?
Beds cannot be lofted, but they can be bunked. In Ponce, that does provide some extra floor space for students. Our facilities team will set the rooms and arrange the furniture in a way that optimizes space. But should both students arrive on move-in day and decide that they want the beds bunked or unbunked or furniture moved around, our facilities team will help bunk or unbunk beds. Um, it truly is a matter of what preference is. Some students want the beds unbunked no matter what, even if it means a tighter room, and some would prefer a little bit more floor space and some greater flexibility, and they're okay with bunked beds. So we just ask that roommates are all in the room when the decision happens about beds being bunked or unbunked. And then on move-in day, on the back of your door, or the back of your student's door will be a QR code to our facilities request, and students can submit a work request to have the beds bunked or unbunked. Our facilities team will be around on move-in day trying to get to as many of those requests as they can, but in some cases it could take up to a week for them to come bunk or unbunk those beds. But we do encourage the student on move-in day to get as settled and as comfortable as they can be before our facilities team makes their way to your room to help get it set up in a way that the student prefers.
And so beds cannot be lofted, but they can get some of those little risers if they wanted to. And then I believe, Lewis and Ponce Hall, our students can choose kind of a few different levels for what they want their bed in. And kind of like Julia was talking about, whether they want to put some dressers underneath there or other storage things underneath there. Cedar is just one height for all of those beds, but just kind of making sure that we look at that. And then I absolutely love, like Anlin on move-in day, to see how they decorate their rooms and the unique different options for those desk hutches. And so I think students do, like the vanity ones with mirrors I've seen, they do them that they match the color of the furniture close to it, or it's just a completely different color. It's got cabinets or drawers or different things like that. But yes, those are absolutely allowed. The other question here, unfortunately, we will not have room tours built into the new student orientation because we just don't know where everybody's going to be. But we definitely recommend reviewing some of those videos that Julia was plugging and some of the different pictures that we've got available out there. So we've covered kind of how the students are selecting their rooms, what that process is going to look like getting ready. We're totally diving more into move-in, but let's talk a little bit about just like life on campus. And so, Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about eating on campus and what that looks like?
Absolutely. We do have a couple of options on campus. All of our incoming first-year students will have an unlimited meal plan. We have two options. So we have the all-access meal plan, which is unlimited meals per semester. It includes 150 dining dollars that your student can use in our bistro, which is in our student center. We've got Kookaburra coffee over there. We've got Chick-fil-A over there. We've kind of got coolers for grab and go drinks and snacks and things of that nature. We also have bento sushi in the student center, and those dining dollars can be used over in the student center. And then we have the VIP all access dining plan, which again is unlimited meals in the dining hall. And then it's 300 dining dollars. So it's about $150 more than just the general all access plan. Students and parents can upload at any point in the semester any additional monies onto their student account to be used as dining dollars. So if you started off with the all access plan and then wanted to add $100 in October, you're absolutely able to do that. But those are the two options for incoming students. And then our incoming transfer students are able to select from any of our other meal plans. We do have a 10 meal plan and a 15 meal plan for our transfer students, as well as a Sebastian plan for any transfer students who may be living in Sebastian. But for the most part, all of our incoming students are with one of those all-inclusive or all-access meals, which are unlimited in the dining hall. We do also have 2 pods locations on campus. Those are kind of similar to a convenience store, just some more grab and go options. They do have some like pre-made sandwiches. I think the one in Aber Commons has soup as well. Just some more grab and go type options. And students can again use their dining dollars in there or a meal swipe, so they can exchange one meal from the dining hall for a meal down there at the pod. So there's a couple of different options on campus. And like I said, most of your students will have one of the all access meal plans.
And so while our dining services team isn't here with us tonight to talk more about that, I always like to plug the amazingness that they bring to working with students who have any dietary needs, restrictions, or just questions about nutrition in general and how to navigate the different eating options and be successful within their meal plan on campus. And so definitely if that's a concern that you have, whether it's allergies, whether it's certain restrictions or things like that, we definitely want to encourage your student to connect with our dining services team sooner rather than later so that they're feeling comfortable and confident about, eating across campus. And that's a huge part of them living here. So to switch gears a little bit, Anlin, June 1st began our hurricane season. And so because we have students that are from Florida, have experienced this, we also have a very large grouping of students that come from outside of Florida that may or may not have experience with hurricanes. And so what are some things that our families and students can be talking about now to kind of prep, alleviate some of those stresses, and again, feeling good and confident about living here?
Yeah, absolutely. As someone who is not from Florida originally, but have lived here long enough now, I definitely had to learn all of these tips and tricks myself. And so I think the best piece of advice is to have a plan and be prepared. Inevitably, we don't want a hurricane to hit, but if it does hit, it's good to have a plan and be prepared. So I would start talking with your student about if a hurricane impacts the St. Augustine area, what that might look like. We know that hurricanes sometimes can be a little bit unpredictable with pathways and things, and that changes, but it's good to have some sort of a baseline conversation about what a hurricane can look like. We also encourage you as part of their packing and planning is to pack some things that would be important during a hurricane. So any supplies that you might need if campus is evacuated, non-perishable food items, flashlights, batteries, those types of things. I know first aid kit is on our regular packing list, which is always nice to have for things that might happen in the room. I think that we all value transparency and communication. And so if a storm is even thought out to be out in the atmosphere, our emergency team is going to be thinking about that and having communication out to students about what that could potentially look like. So if something is coming on the radar or on the map, we encourage students to stay in touch with us, to communicate, to check their emails, and then we will push out any communication about what that will potentially look like for them. It sounds scary, but someone that has not been from Florida, born and raised up north, it was easy to kind of trust in the planning purposes. We talk about hurricanes pretty frequently on campus, and so administration, security team, campus partners all have a plan for if a hurricane would hit us and impact us. And so that's the best piece of advice too, to have your own plan and what that looks like and come up with some supplies.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fantastic. And we'll dive more into safety and security and kind of some hurricane prep at a future webinar later in the summer with our director of safety and security and a couple other campus partners. But Anlin, definitely hit the target there is just having that communication with what's going to happen, and how you can support your student and work with them. And if that is coming home, if that is going to a family member or a close family friend or something like that during that time, if there is an evacuation, but we are going to keep up that communication throughout the whole time with our students and families. So let's go ahead and do a couple closing housekeeping things. I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A, but now is the time to ask those, of course. And so Rachel, why don't you take us through maybe like a new resource feature that we're offering to our students for this summer?
New resource feature.
The checklist.
The checklist, yes. Your student should have access to a checklist. One of the big things to help make move-in seamless would be to ensure that they have uploaded their immunization records to MedProctor. They will need to have that done for us to be able to give them their room key. So on our health and wellness page, they will get access to MedProctor. They'll just need to upload their immunization records prior to August 17th to ensure a quick and easy and seamless move-in process. But I did want to get that on your radar early, so if it takes some time to gather that from your medical providers, you've got plenty of runway to do so. But that would be one of the big things. And then, of course, just making sure that you have completed your housing application and you have your room assignment and you are good to go by July 1st. Those would be the two big items on your checklist in terms of housing.
So I'm assuming that once we get all of those assignments set, then throughout the month of July is when our students can anticipate hearing a bit more of those details regarding move-in. And so without going too much into all the details and what they can expect, what's a big thing that I think our families are wanting to know now about move-in day?
Yeah. The date, August 21st, and then what time their student can expect to move in. www.flagler.edu/move-in, and I can pull the website back up here. It has all of the times already on it. It is building and floor specific. So your student would need to have their housing assignment already. But we do have a very seamless process as long as all of these times are followed here. And this just helps us keep cars moving. These were intentionally designed and selected based off occupancy in the buildings. So it does help avoid traffic jams and backups in parking lots. But your student can, once they get their housing assignment and they've picked their room, again, www.flagler.edu/move-in, and all of the times are here. We will again send this out to your family, to your student via their Flagler email in mid-July. And then again in August, just a couple of days before move-in, we will also share more at the move-in webinar at the end of July. They will get all kinds of information about parking on campus that day, what to expect from move-in, the traffic route, and all of that will be sent out a little bit later in the summer. But the big key things are the date, which is Friday, August 21st, and then the times, which are again here on the website.
Absolutely. And another one of our reminders that I like to do at the end of these webinars is we have our new student orientations that are beginning in mid-June, and we have 4 of those that are 2-day sessions. And then we have one in the beginning of August that we gear toward our transfer students. However, we know that, whichever one works best for your schedules. Students will be staying over in which residence hall during orientation?
FEC.
FEC. And so that is not necessarily going to be where their fall and spring next academic year residence hall will be. However, it's got a great event space. The parking garage is right there. So we felt that it was really good to use for our overnight orientation session students. So let's go over some of those key dates that are coming up. July 27th is our move-in webinar where we're going to go through all the ins and outs of move-in. August 21st is move-in day. How can our students and families reach out to our Residence Life team?
Great question. The best way is our email. So again, it's residencelife@flagler.edu, or you can give us a call. Our number is 904-826-8502. Again, 904-826-8502. And that message will go to whichever one of us is available.
Wonderful. Last plug for the evening is next week on June 9th, we will be having our next summer virtual series where we are going to be meeting with our Center for Advising and Core Experience, our CASE team. And I love this one because they explain how they build schedules and what goes into registering for classes and making those decisions. And so if your student has gotten a schedule and they've got some questions or what the ins and outs of are for that. It's a great one where we pull the curtain back so you get to see what happens behind it. But thank you again so much for joining us tonight, all of our panelists and our family members who were here. Again, residencelife@flagler.edu for any of those burning questions that come up after tonight's webinar. But we look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thank you.